Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily if it is your first time here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a little collection of what I think are the best products for the eyes. So I have everything from primers to mascara to eyebrows, and I want to mention some things that I don't currently have in my collection as well, things that I've used in the past that I just haven't repurchased but that I think are really great. So I'm pretty sure this video was inspired by Julia Mazzucato. It's been sitting in my video idea list for a while now and I finally got to it, but I'm pretty sure it was inspired by Julia Mazzucato, who unfortunately does not upload to YouTube anymore. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. So the first thing that I want to talk about is eye primer, and the one eye primer that I wanted to mention is the Auric Cosmetics primero primer. I, for the longest time, only used the Urban Decay primer potion, and it's a great eyeshadow primer, but I ran out of it, and then I started using my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer as eyelid primer, and I have been trying to finish that up, but it got to the point where I felt like I wasn't making any progress on it, and I was like, I'm so sick of using this. It isn't an amazing eyeshadow base, so I had gotten this in a BoxyCharm, and I only started using this recently, within the past month, maybe 3 weeks, and I can honestly say this has quickly become my #1 eyeshadow primer. It just clings onto your eyeshadows like no other. I typically am the person to set my eyeshadow base with a powder before I go in with shadows, but I decided to just try not setting this one and to just blend everything really well, and I actually was able to do it, which the reason why I have set all my eyeshadow bases in the past is because I was sure that I would not get a good blend, but with this it just is really easy to blend your shadows on top of it, and it does take time. You do kind of have to sit there and work with it, but it's not hard to do, it just takes time. And the wearability of your eyeshadows when you use this primer is amazing. I wore eyeshadow the other day for at least 9 hours, and at the end of the day my eyeshadows still look just as good as when I first put it on, so I would 110% recommend this. So next we have probably the biggest category, or the category that I have the most stuff that I want to talk about, and that is eyeshadows. So I have some palettes and some specific formulas I want to talk about, and some types of products that I want to talk about. So first we're going to start with the eyeshadow palettes that I have. The first palette that I have here is the Oden's Alva eyeshadow palette, and it actually currently is missing a shade because it is in my project pan, so I have it in my singles palette right now. But this palette, first of all, is so gorgeous, but really I want to talk about this formula. But the formula in this is so good. The matte shades are so creamy and easy to blend out, and the shimmer shades are super unique. They're pretty textured shimmers. Well, most of them are. There's a few in this palette that aren't, the shade Sunflower and Coffee Bean I don't think are the textured shimmer formula, but most of the shades in here are, and they just look so beautiful on the eye. And I know it doesn't look like I really have used this palette that much, but it is a newer palette to my collection, and the times that I have used this, I have loved it so much and loved all the looks that I've created with it. But the reason I really wanted to put this in the video is because of the formula. So like I said, this is the only palette that I own from Oden's Eye, but after watching reviews of every collection that they've ever come out with, everyone says that the formula stays really consistent across all their palettes, which is honestly quite hard to find. And I actually am going to be talking about some shadows in a minute that don't have that consistency that Oden's Eye has. You know, Oden's Eye is just one of those brands that I literally want every single thing that they come out with, and I kind of just have to add it to my wish list and wait till the day that I can buy everything that they have. But these shadows are so good, and they're getting to the point where they have enough eyeshadow palettes that I really truly think that there is a palette for everyone. If this isn't your perfect color story, I can almost guarantee that you will be able to find a palette that you are actually drawn to. So the next shadow formula that I want to talk about is the Melt Cosmetics shadow formula. And the palette that I have from Melt Cosmetics is the 420 palette. And this is what it looks like. Again, missing a shade because I do have this shade in my project pan as well. But these shadows are so good. Basically, every shadow from Melt Cosmetics is so rich. It is just like richly pigmented. These are softer shadows, but I find that I don't mind that because they are super easy to blend. I think if I had to compare them to a formula, I would probably compare them to the Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow formula that is in the longer palettes, like the Modern Renaissance shaped palettes. They're both very soft, and they quite honestly do have a lot of kick up when you put your brush into the pan, but something about this formula just calls to me. It is just so beautiful and perfect. And my favorite thing about Melt Cosmetics though is their color stories. They have some of the most unique color stories that I've ever seen from any brand, and that's truly what draws me to the brand. But their formula, their eyeshadow formula is just so good. So the next brand that I want to talk about, their shadow formula, and this also has a lot to do with the cost and the value of the shadows as well. But if you're thinking about a best product, I would want to consider more than just how it works on the eye, you know? Like, I want to consider cost. I'm not rich. So I also wanted to include something that is more like bang for your buck. On first reveal of what I'm about to talk about, you're probably gonna think, Emily, that is not worth my money, but I do want to explain it to you. I think it is worth your money for specific people. So I want to talk about the Natasha Denona smaller 15 pan palette. So the two that I currently have are the Sunrise palette and the Love palette. And the Sunrise palette is my all-time favorite palette of all time. It's just like my perfect color story, and it actually is like super similar to the Oden's Eye palette. These have very similar color stories, but why I think that these are really great and worth your money is because we all know that Natasha Denona has these bigger palettes as well. I have two of them. I didn't pay full price for them, but they are bigger. They're still 15 pan palettes, but they are bigger, so they are actually exactly double. So this is exactly half of this, half the product and half the price as well. And why I think that is worth your money is because while yes, these bigger palettes are beautiful and I love the two that I have, this is just so much eyeshadow. This is so much product. Maybe it's worth it for the average consumer, but for someone like me who has a pretty extensive eyeshadow collection, this is not worth it. I will, unless I really focus in on like this palette for a few years, this palette only for a few years, there's no way that I would ever be able to use all these up, and this is much more attainable. I know that a lot of people rave about the Natasha Denona formula and say that it's like the best eyeshadow formula on the market, and while I think that that is definitely a stretch, I don't think it is the best by far, but it is a really good formula, and for the price, I would say it is about what you expect for this sized palette. Now, if you were to get the bigger palette, you might be a little disappointed by the formula because you pay so much money. I think that at full price, these ones are like $129 and these ones are only $65. So if you are expecting an eyeshadow that's worth $129 with these bigger palettes, chances are you're probably going to be disappointed, but I definitely think that this is worth the value, and for the color stories that she comes out with, I think that they are beautiful. That being said, I do really want to pick up the Glam palette and the Bronze palette at some point because they're just so pretty. Where did I go wrong? So that is it for eyeshadow palettes, but there are a few single shadow formulas and brands that I want to talk about, more indie brands. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Cleona Cosmetics, and I have two shadows in particular that I wanted to talk about. The first one is the Cleona Cosmetics Foiled Shadow in the shade Playboy, which is this really beautiful lavender to gold duochrome shifty shadow. And then the next one is the shade Penny Champagne. This one is probably my favorite just because of the formula. The formula this is so creamy, but not like bouncy and spongy like the Colourpop Supershock shadows. It just basically feels like a cream shadow, and it is so amazing. And for my single shadows, I did actually want to do live swatches because these formulas I'm talking about are just, I feel like you need live swatches. So I already put on my finger, but this is the Cleona Cosmetics single in the shade Playboy. So this is the shade Playboy, and this one is really chunky and textured, but oh my gosh, it is so pretty. And then we have the shade Penny Champagne. It's so creamy. I literally cannot handle how creamy this shade is. Like, this is one of those shadows that like the swatch could go on forever. So the next brand of single shadows that I want to talk about is JD Glow Cosmetics, and JD Glow has definitely become more popular in the past year or so. They are a black owned indie brand, and I maybe want to say that Klarity is too, and I'm so sorry that I don't actually know that. Brad, can I see your phone? They totally are. I'm so sorry that I was not, I knew it was, but it was just something that I totally forgot to mention. So both Cleona Cosmetics and JD Glow Cosmetics are black owned, and quite honestly, I think that both of their shadow formulas, I don't think they're comparable, but I think they're about the same in how much I love them and how good they are. So I do want to swatch the two shades that I have here. The first one is called Fairy Acid, and it is like this silver shadow with, I almost just dropped it, with like a gold reflect in it. And this was actually in my Shop My Stash last month, I believe, but this shade is so gorgeous. It is, I feel like I've been saying this about all the single shadows so far. It is one of my favorite shades in my collection. And then the next one is amazingly stunning. So both of these are actually from their Galaxy collection, but this one is called Watermark, and on the eyes and swatch it looks amazing. The camera literally is not doing this justice to how unbelievably beautiful and sparkly and perfect this shadow is. Like, do you see that sparkle? I literally cannot believe how amazing this shadow is. So this is the JD Glow single in Watermark. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Are you kidding me? That is the most stunning eyeshadow I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm sorry. It just is. And the last single shadow brand, I keep calling them single shadow brands. That's not all that they have. They have like other products. I just know them for their single shadows. That I want to talk about is Cleona Cosmetics. It is a Canadian owned indie makeup brand, and they have these, I can't remember what the formula of these shadows are called. I bought the shade per Amy Loves Makeup's recommendation. It is like this really stunning like gold bronzy to green yellow shift, and I love it so much. It also like has some blue and pink in there. It is just so beautiful and perfect. And then I also have the shade Alpine, which is this bright teal color that I am obsessed with. This color, I have so many single shadows this color. It is quite ridiculous actually. So I'm going to start by swatching the shade Alpine, which is the bright teal. This is just Cleona's normal shimmer formula, so these ones are actually a bit cheaper than the other formula I'm talking about, but I think that they are both amazing. I think that their normal shimmer formula is so good and creamy and pigmented, and it's not as reflective. The JD Glow and Klarity singles are definitely a lot more reflective, but for being just a normal shimmer formula, these shadows are seriously so good and look so good on the eye. This one is just so beautiful. This is the shade Corrosion, and it just is like The glitter in this is more dispersed, and like in person I can really see the blue in it, but it is so gorgeous. It has more of a sheer base to it, and then the shimmers are just kind of like suspended in that clear base. That makes it sound like it's like a cream formula. It's definitely not. It's a powder formula, but it's just such a unique shade, and I definitely recommend this formula from Cleona Cosmetics. All right, so next I want to talk about some more like topper type products, and without a doubt my favorite eyeshadow toppers are the Colourpop Super Shock shadows. Colourpop Super Shock shadows are just something so unique and so special. The first shade that I have here that I wanted to talk about is Ritz. This is a beautiful one and done shadow. I feel like Julia Mazzucato really helped bring it into popularity. It just is so pretty. I feel like it really swatched not good on the back of my hand. Strange. It has a more brown base to it with these silver glitters suspended in it, but if you haven't felt the Colourpop Super Shock shadow formula, it is unlike no other. It is like this bouncy sort of spongy shade. This shade actually came broken. You can see it's a little cracked right there, but you can literally just press it back in. I'm trying to show you the texture of these. Like, see, it's literally like a cream, and it is just so good. The days that I do wear makeup to work, I love just picking one of these randomly and like blending it all over my lid with my finger, and they all just look so stunning as one and done shadows. The other shades that I have that I wanted to talk about is Set to Stun. I've had this shade for longer than I'd like to admit, but it hasn't gone off yet, and it is seriously so pretty. I feel like they don't look as good swatched out, but on the eyelids they just do something freaking amazing, especially put on top of the Alamar Cosmetics eyeshadow base. It just grips them so beautifully. And then the last shade that I want to talk about is Dreamlover, and it is like a duochrome plum to blue lavender type of shade, and this is a newer one to my collection, and this one is super unbelievably gorgeous and also like super pigmented, but this one's really gorgeous as well. And I have a lot more Super Shock shadows, but these are probably my 3 favorite in my collection, so they are the ones that I wanted to mention in this video because I think that they are the best shades. So I wanted to call these more toppers because I wanted to say that my favorite one and done shadow is actually a new discovery, because it is a new launch from a new brand, and that is the Auric Beauty Smoke Reflect Cream and Powder Eyeshadow Duo. So this is Samantha Ravindal's brand that she just launched, and I bought the Glow Lust and this eyeshadow when it first launched, and then I went and like literally the next day bought the other shade that they still had in stock. At some point I do want to buy like the goldy bronze shade, but the 2 shades that I have are Temper and Ego. Temper is the rose gold one, and Ego is the silver gray one. I love these. I don't have a lot of experience with true cream shadows, so when I first felt these I was a little bit scared because they are truly like wet, creamy, bouncy, and I was quite honestly super intimidated. But when I actually put it on my eye, it is so easy to blend out and so smooth and just so gorgeous, and it has a really pretty reflect to it. But then when you add the pressed powder shadow on top, it just takes it to another whole level. I was a little scared when I first pulled out the powder shadow and just swatched it, because you feel like you aren't picking anything up. It feels like a really dry formula, and when you actually swatch it, it looks like nothing. So I want to show it to you swatched on like my bare hand. It looks like nothing. It doesn't look as intense and pretty as it did like in Sam's videos and pictures of it. So I was really scared, but after talking to some people who had already had theirs and had actually worn it on their eyes, they were like, put it on your eyes, it takes it to a whole other level when it's on top of the cream base. So I did, and I'm just gonna show you what happens when you like pat it on the cream. The cream grips the sparkle in the powder so beautifully and just makes it the most gorgeous, reflective, sparkly beautifulness you have ever seen in your entire life. So this is the shade Temper, and then I'm gonna layer the shade Ego, the cream in the powder, right next to it. So this is what the Ego cream looks like by itself, and I know that these are two different shades, but you can see the difference in the reflectiveness of what the cream looks like versus what the cream looks like with the powder layered on top. All right, and then that is what Ego looks like with the powder layered on top. They are just, it transforms it and takes it to a level that is like unprecedented, okay? It is just so unbelievably beautiful and absolutely my new favorite one and done shadow formula. I promise we are really close to being done. I do want to talk about a brow product real quick because I consider brows part of the eye category. So this is the Patrick Ta Tinted Brow Wax. As you can see, mine is very, very, very well loved. The way that this works is it is a hard pressed dry wax, and you have to spray it with some sort of liquid to activate it basically. So I just use water, and then I take my spoolie and swirl it, and then I brush it through my brows. And after you put it in your brows, you want to really take your time and press your brows into place. Once you press it and like stick it down to your skin, that's what gets your brows to stay in place all day. This holds my brows unlike anything I have ever used. I've tried the ABH brow gel, I've tried literally everything, and this is the only thing that can really glue my brows down and up. Does that make sense? Like, so they're fluffy, but like they stay, and you can kind of like mess with them as you go throughout the day. If you notice that like a brow's messed up, just like push it back into place and it works so well. But this is just such an easy product to work with and has quickly become one of my favorites and a staple part of my makeup routine. A liquid liner formula that I wanted to talk about but that I don't actually have here in front of me is the KVD Vegan Beauty Tattoo Liner. I have used it many times in the past, but I just don't currently have one. It is such a good eyeliner. For me, I love brush tip liners. I just find that they have a lot more give to them and they don't feel as hard on your eye, so they just like almost like form to your eye a lot better. And I love brush tip liners. I have some felt tip liners, but I just find that they're a little bit more difficult to work with, and the KVD tattoo liner stays so amazingly well throughout the day, and it is just one of my favorite liners. Then I have two pencil liner formulas that I want to talk about. The first one being the NYX Epic Wear Liner Sticks. So NYX has a liquid liner called the NYX Epic Wear Liquid Liner. It's a brush tip liner, and I do think that it is a really great brush tip liner. I just am not mentioning it in this video because I feel like they have some packaging issues with it. But I do love this pencil liner formula that they came out in 2020. This liner formula is so easy to blend out on your eye. They are so richly pigmented and they stay on your eye so well. I have the purple shade that I have called Periwinkle Pop in my waterline today, and it just stays on your eye so well. Like, I don't know what else to say about it besides that. It gives you time to work with them and smudge them out if you want to, but after that, they don't move. So the shades that I have are Pitch Black, Periwinkle Pop, and Deepest Brown, and I definitely want to pick up some more colorful shades from this line because I just think that they're so good. And then the other pencil eyeliner formula that I wanted to talk about is the Colourpop Creme Gel Liners. Now, this is one thing that Colourpop does so well. They have so many colors of their creme gel liners, and I feel like they're always coming out with more. These last even better than the NYX pencils in the waterline. They are so good. I have, I think, like four. I have like 4 shades coming from Colourpop right now in this formula because I just love it. I love this formula so much. They're so creamy and they are super easy to blend, but they last so well, just like the NYX ones. better than the NYX ones actually. I currently have 4 shades, and the shades that I have are Gobi, Red Rock, Sub-Zero, and Wildcat, and they're just really, really great liners. And then the last category of products that I want to talk about today is mascara. I have 3 mascaras that I want to talk about. The first one being the Milk Makeup Kush Mascara. And this mascara I originally bought because so many people all over YouTube and Instagram said that this mascara does not smudge or flake. And I have the worst time finding mascaras that don't smudge or flake. I don't know what it is. It's just like every single mascara ever smudges on me. Like even waterproof mascaras smudge on me, and it's always like right over here. Today it's not doing it with the mascara that I'm wearing, and it's a mascara that I don't typically use, so I'm a little shook that it hasn't smudged yet, because like all mascaras do, including this one. But I have heard so many people say that it doesn't smudge on them, so I don't know if it's just something that I'm doing wrong. I just don't know. But I do really love the way that this mascara makes my lashes look. It makes them look so lifted and fluffy. For me, I don't feel like I have to curl my eyelashes. Typically I do curl them just because it's kind of a habit now. But this mascara just makes my lashes look so fluffy and voluminous. And I just really enjoy this mascara. I have 2 other mascaras that I want to talk about. Neither of them I actually have. The first one is the Essence Lash Princess Mascara. That is another mascara that everyone on YouTube talks about, so I really don't want to spend too much time on it, but it basically does the same thing for my lashes that the Milk Makeup Kush Mascara does. It just makes them look really fluffy and separated and lifted, yet still voluminous and soft. Like, I have a lot of mascaras that like make my lashes feel soft, or make my lashes feel like hard and pointy, and I just don't like that. I much prefer one that leaves my lashes feeling soft and like conditioned. And the very last product and the last mascara that I want to talk about in this video is the Smashbox Superfan Fanned Out Mascara. I raved about this past summer on my channel. I feel like I used it literally so much, but it is the one mascara I have ever used in my entire life that does not smudge. And it was such an obscure find. I think I got it in like a Sephora play box, and it was just like a little itty bitty sample, and I was using it, and I kept saying, when I use this up I will be buying the full size, but then I changed my mind because I thought that Smashbox was not cruelty free. And I don't think at the time that they were cruelty free, but I'm pretty sure now they are. So I am adding that mascara back onto my wish list as soon as I can. I absolutely will be picking it up because it is literally the only mascara I have ever used. Like, I have a lot of mascaras. This entire bag right here is full of mascaras, okay? There were even more in the bag that I didn't just lift up. I have so many mascaras and I've tried so many. Every single one of them smudges on me, but that one does not, and it is perfect in every way. So that is it for this video. There was a lot in this video. I'm glad we made it through together. I just took a little minute there off camera to like take a breath, collect my thoughts, and I think we're good. If you did enjoy this video, I hope you will give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe before you go, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!